This week we received an email from Larry of Augusta, and he writes, if a trucker fails to maintain his brakes and causes an accident, can I sue the company he is driving for my personal injury and property damage? Well, Larry, when you have a situation where an employee is driving or causing an accident, he works for another company or for a company, not your company, then you have a business that you can sue. If the trucker is employed by the company, his negligence is basically the company's negligence. So the simple answer to that question is you can sue both the driver and his company for the driver's negligence that caused the accident. The law says that an employer is responsible for its employees' negligence in most circumstances. Now, one other thing you may want to consider is that there is federal law out there that says you can also sue the insurance company for the trucking company for your damages. Now, there may be some reasons or some cases that you will want to do this and other cases that you don't or won't want to do this. And so you really need to talk about this with a lawyer as to who you should or shouldn't sue. But generally speaking, when you have a trucker causing an accident, and you're going to have to prove this, the failure to maintain the brakes, and you probably will be able to prove that. Maybe you already have, but I'm assuming you probably will be able to prove that through the trucker's logs, through the trucker's maintenance documentation on the truck, and perhaps through various other means with the employer or owner of the truck if the owner of the truck is not the driver. Sometimes the driver is an owner-operator for another business. Generally speaking, though, when they're driving for a company, the company owns the truck and hires the driver. And so ultimately, the business records of the company will have documentation as to what kind of maintenance it was done or performed or not performed, in this case, perhaps, on the brakes. So you will need to get that nailed down. Even if you have a police report, you may think, well, I've got this case, it's a lead pipe cinch easy, whatever you want to call it, because my police report says, hey, the brakes weren't maintained. Well, that seems to be clear on its face to prove that point, but relying entirely on a police report is not a good thing in that type of circumstance. You really want to get or gather together all of the evidence that proves that point, including the paperwork that is the logs of the trucker, and as I said, the business records of the company responsible for maintaining the brakes. Now, of course, maybe the driver was ultimately responsible for doing this at the direction of the employer. Nevertheless, the employer most likely will have all of the records supporting the nature of the maintenance performed on the truck. And of course, the black box on the truck probably has some documentation in it as well that may prove your case with respect to the brake failure. Anytime you have a truck accident like this where there's a maintenance problem, I strongly urge that you consult. I don't know that you necessarily need a lawyer in this case, but at least consult with a lawyer and see if you're on the right path, and hopefully you are on the right path, and hopefully you have all of the documentation that you need. If you don't, you probably are going to need to hire or retain an attorney to make sure that you do get all of the documentation to support this claim and pursue both the employer and employee. Thank you, Larry, for that email.